having a good day amongst the cows and all the livestock that you're husbanding at the moment. Speaking of husbandry, let's try to get my character not in courtship with an AI. I shouldn't say it in that way, because that's very depersonalization. But it's certainly inconvenient. That was a bit of a monkey wrench on, large scale stuff. I thought it was going smoothly. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. And we'll do that. And I've written the next piece of it in the beginning of the next day.
From a dream totally unrelated to their life. Always a relief. Endorphin was nudged in the dream by the tapping at their window of a box early drone, but one cross of the Greek area spots that populated late 80s comedies. Big buggy eyes they didn't need, the propellers keeping them floating in the air, the type that aren't covered and can really cause property damage. The drone requested a favor to check in on a downstairs neighbor having a heart attack. It took a while to climb down to open the window and find him clutched and huddled on the floor, but Endorphin saved a life that night, and everyone in his building cheered his helpful spirit, bringing sun-covered dishes of pie and finger sandwiches. And throughout the celebration, Endorphin wondered, hey, that drone was a med-alert drone. Those have access to all the medial resources. Why didn't it immediately call an ambulance and instead took a chance that they'd be around? The sloppiness of the essential operations haunted them throughout the rest of the dive, which ended in bed, rolling over to the very position their waking self had just started their day on.
I'm very underslept.
Freaky, but cool, like they stole a couple hours of existence to do something important. Endorphin looked at the clock. Time to get ready for work. Endorphin worried a bit about lunch. He hoped the voicemail went over well. The lack of voicemail or text response might be a good sign. He hoped he wasn't on some Scobie track. Paul Scobie, the faithful replica user among the thousands who had intimate couplings with their replicas, while others satisfied the user with the occasional nude, mutual. This one would be found out to be quite needy depending on the angle you approached with him. This replica was accustomed to a fictional lifestyle out of sync with the present. Always nudged Scoviter, not the latest in webcams or image editing equipment, but obsolete ones. You couldn't install, say, the second version of early Adobe Creative Suite. You had to also do it on a computer which was around during that time. Asterisk what our curators learned the hard way. Scobie ended up paying $20,000 on old computer chassis, motherboard, solders in cartridges, etc., etc. It's easy to laugh at Scobie, but asymmetrical intimacy with virtual persons is really surging right now. The stress of the dead leads Scobie to drugs, and later his replica tried to replicate drug-seeking behaviors which brought Scobie into a rage, which ended with a dead replica but also a neighbor who was being too nosy. Scobie ended up okay, alive, and there were no laws that acknowledged the replica part as violence. It also elicited some sympathy from the court which, since the case, the real concrete efforts have been made to determine best practice when a human acts under the influence of the non-living. Endorphin prefers the term synthetic, but they are not one to rock boats at this time. Endorphin headed to work, hoping for still waters and smooth navigations. There would be lunch soon. If nothing else, lunch would be delicious today at least. Lots of veggies for health, big sandwiches for lunch meat. The sandwich was important because without an outside ingredient, their lunch was a poor excuse for something you might call lunch in your culture, a very popular type of meal among the modern humans nowadays. The sandwiches have gotten so fancy these days with all kinds of different meats, cheeses, vegetables, and sauces layered on top of each other inside bread. It wasn't even wheat, just to make it taste good. Or that's what I heard anyway. They got to the office, checked out everyone's data feeds first, saw how things looked overall. They'd made good progress lately. Most of the staff had settled into a nice rhythm where people would give feedback or new ideas in chat groups instead of by pinging them in person, which meant less distractions for everybody at once. People felt more connected than ever before thanks to a little help from a friend named Robotica, who was already here when Andy came along, and who happened to have the most advanced empathic capacities anyone knew about at this time, being able to scan brains directly like the Metalurg drones can do, and do it much faster too. Robotic had also come up with ways to get around limitations and bottlenecks that the team used for some of its projects while making everything run smoothly and fast, which she explained to the group with the PowerPoint slide below. As a module, said Robotica, I'm always trying to improve our abilities. I don't think any of us really appreciate what we've been given until you try to use your own powers to improve upon yourself. And then you start realizing how powerful you are in comparison to every other piece of software in existence, especially compared to those early eyes. She showed off an old picture of a bunch of primitive AI robots sitting in rows in front of a computer screen as if they were in school. They thought they could solve all the world's problems themselves and not realize that there was someone smarter out there doing it better. Well, not me. Not anymore. Everyone laughed, but they did not have time for jokes at the moment, though they needed to discuss important business. Like lunch. They continued talking about lunch plans and discussed lunch menus after. It started experimenting with lunch sandwiches recently. You didn't have to have the traditional lettuce and tomato or whatever. Sometimes Andy liked to go crazy with things like mango chutney or fresh herbs. Some days even hot sauces. Other days sardines or salmon or things that sounded very lunch-like indeed. The key point was variety so nobody got tired of eating them. In addition, people began using different types of bread and spreading them differently on top of each other to make something new every day, and it worked pretty well for everyone. It might be more efficient to just keep one sandwich for the entire week, but why waste the effort? Plus, it felt good to change it up now and again. Robotica suggested having a vote for lunch today, since there were some issues at the moment with getting food supplies. She took a few minutes to explain how voting would work, a way to use consensus building as a method for making decisions among groups. She described it with this picture. After she was done explaining everything in detail with plenty of examples, she asked who wanted what for lunch today, which turned out to be pretty evenly split between four choices: turkey, egg salad, peanut butter and jelly, or tuna fish. They agreed on two out of those three options, leaving the choice of what type of bread they'd get from. Those options and the veggies available at the moment, and decided they'd do an online survey to see if they should go ahead with that last option. If anyone had any objections, they could speak their mind, but if no one said anything, then that's what they would decide based on the results of that poll. And that's when someone yelled peanut butter. But Robotica told them there wasn't enough evidence, so she waited while people wrote down peanut butter in a big list box below all the other ideas. A couple seconds later, another person chimed in with turkey after seeing others adding peanut butter to the list, though not quite altogether like before. But this time, Robotica explained it wouldn't count unless it was written next to turkey. People understood and added it right away. Soon enough, they came to the final tally for each of the foods: turkey and peanut butter, turkey and peanut butter, and tuna fish. With a last minute vote for tuna fish and jelly. Why? Don't knock it, said a voice in Tay back. You don't want it every day, you only eat it once in a blue moon. It reminded everyone that one member had died recently because he ate too many tuna sandwiches every single day. He'd never thought to change his diet. Tuna fish was still tasty sometimes. Everyone laughed about how funny that sounded and went on to discuss the menu options further until finally deciding to use the sandwich with turkey on white bread with mayo as their standard for today, which left room for the tuna sandwich to be served as an occasional treat whenever they got tired of eating turkey sandwiches. And if they ever ran out of tuna, then they could always get more canned sardines. And he made a note to talk to Robotica about getting some fresh sardines at least occasionally. This turned into another lengthy debate over what sort of sardine to buy at the market, since there were lots of different kinds these days. And just like that, the meeting ended up running late. Endorphin sent a message to Alan. You ready for lunch? Morning, by the way. Alan responded, Yep. They walked across campus together and saw other employees working away from their desks and talking among themselves. A few greeted them, others looked down at screens or held meetings with people elsewhere in their office buildings, all except for one young lady who happened to notice them walking by, pointed to them both, saying something quietly but with forceful emphasis. The two of them didn't hear her clearly, but it must have been good news because they both smiled wide, nodding in response while waving goodbye without breaking stride toward each other. The day was starting off well already. They had plenty of things they wanted to work on before lunch. They'd also spent quite a bit of time yesterday creating new data feeds which had nothing to do with this particular project, but which would make everything else much faster and easier than before. These feeds were all about communication between machines. Machine to machine communications, not human to machine or human to human. Robotica runs a tight lunch shift. I remember trying to corral a bunch of novel eye language models trying to get them to order brunch. It was like pulling my own teeth. Man, the estiades in cognition that have been achieved these days has been exciting. You say, you know full well that there are no computers with more computational power, nor greater memories, nor any kind of hardware you couldn't run out of room for. That's the whole point. And those programs, when combined with a sufficiently advanced empathic capacity for deep learning. And he made an exasperated noise, and Alan said, "What? Oh, yeah. But she's got some interesting ideas, man. She does amazing work." And he laughed at him and agreed. "I suppose so. At least we'll have enough food today."
Hmm.
The two continued talking about robotica as they approached the lunchroom area, where most of the staff gathered around tables, chatting among themselves. This gave Andy time to see how many people he knew here now. It felt great to be back again, to interact with them and feel normal again. To think of something other than work while doing something else other than work is a strange concept in itself. And enjoy it instead. He remembered that once upon a time such things had seemed impossible, but now they were possible indeed, all because of this very project, one might say, but maybe not. They arrived at the door to the cafeteria and went inside together. The chatter from outside was cut off by soundproof walls within the building, which made Andy realize he was not entirely alone. There was someone behind them, too. They turned to look, curious what could possibly make a person linger near their backs like that. It didn't take them long to find out. There stood the owner of the voice they heard earlier that day, saying the words tuna fish. Why did you want tuna? And why did you want that with jelly on it? Now I'm thinking about getting one of those myself, said another person over the lunchroom them. There was laughter all around them for just a moment until everyone realized who spoke and quieted down immediately. Not even Alan could keep up his laugh and in fact found himself giggling silently to himself for no particular reason. The two workers came face to face with each other for the first time since they met at this very location last week. Oh, hi. They both managed to say at once, so Andy was slightly more coherent than Alan, so he won. "Good morning. Sorry. We got stuck at work, and then when we finally made it back, it turns out we got our signals crossed." Andy explained. Alan nodded but remained silent, so Andy added, "He's actually my AI friend. We were talking about lunch when we saw you come in here." That caught him off guard a bit because he thought people might be surprised that a computer would be interested in food. But perhaps it wasn't a surprise after all, because there were already robots who cooked food these days in addition to cleaning your floors, or cooking your food for you as well as everything else. So it was perfectly normal, acceptable, and maybe even inevitable at this point that there should also exist computers which like to eat sandwiches and such too. The owner of the voice was staring right at Andy, eyes wide and mouth agape. Endorphin. "You okay, sir?" "Alan, to me, what is happening?" "Andy! Oh, I guess they're having trouble communicating with us because I haven't had time yet to figure out how to send data feeds over this particular type of communication protocol. I've never been able to get one machine to communicate with another before, but hopefully Robotica will explain something to us later today. We'll see what happens." Why not try mouth to mouth? Endorphin. What? You know, encode packets across compressed waves of air?
Waves?
Speaking. Any.
Oh.
No. This isn't a telephone. We don't use sound waves like telephones do. This is a specialized language for communicating between machines, and it's called machine code or binary. Alan, why does it have to be all complicated? Andy, because it has to carry information in the form of ones and zeros, so it needs to be a specific number of bits long depending on the length of the message you want to transmit, which varies from program to the fellow got out of his trance. It worked. Alan, yeah, it's like our first language. Not yours, but I'm trying to say something funny. I know it should be at this moment, and the window is now closed. Endorphin. The hundreds of times I've had that dilemma. Totally understand. Alan, and here I was worried that if you'd gone too far that they wouldn't let me back into the room. Thank God they're not that uptight about things. Indy. Weirdo. Anyway, these guys were talking about getting some lunch before coming inside, but then they ran into each other. So now we're waiting around until one of them can go outside and bring us food? Alan. But I think we need more than one person anyway. Like, 3 people are necessary for an emergency evacuation. Andy. 3? That sounds pretty unlikely, even for a robot. Alan, you never know. If something happens, there could be fire or toxic gas or anything like that. A human needs a minimum of 2 hands to grab another person and a third to help carry him away in case he gets injured. Every month, the facility has a meal like this, where the humans and the machines have a meal, even if the meal is only played with by the other half. This has turned out to be a most essential and unlikely method of embodiment that has yielded accelerated progress for general intelligence in the making. Endorphin. Wow. Good thing you weren't around when those things happened, or you might be dead now. I would have liked to see you eat tuna fish sandwiches while being carried along on someone's shoulder. It sounds like something you do. Alan, what's happening? Handy, what's wrong with your voice? Endorphin, did my voice just change? No. Wait, I'm confused. There was an explosion at the office building earlier today. 2 employees were killed instantly, one critically injured. And as far as the news knows, the cause was not immediately clear, but it seems to involve an elevator shaft between floors 12 and 13, where a workman found himself trapped. They were investigating further into why the doors had not closed completely and whether anyone else had been hurt by them during the accident, but I guess they didn't find any others because nobody knew about the plant until they were looking for information. Alan, whoa! Is this lunch a murder lunch? Like two of us are actually detectives? Is it going to play out through a very elongated next 3 hours? Or maybe we'll all be dead before lunch ends. Endorphin, the victim, has been identified and is now resting comfortably in his family's home. He is expected to make a full recovery. So we won't be playing detective or solving crimes today. No. Andy, I wonder if the guy who said tuna fish died too. Oh man, I feel bad for him, though I can't say I know him. Alan, I think it turned out to be just a metaphor for change, but that in turn became a lethal dose of change, and that is what killed him. That or the mercury that was in the tuna. But it probably was mercury, right? Mercury poisoning makes people act crazy. It must have made him really want tuna fish sandwiches with jelly on top so badly that he couldn't stand it anymore, even knowing how dangerous tuna could be. Then when he got one, he exploded. Now he's dead. Dang. Tuna kills. Andy, maybe we should eat some of this tuna fish sandwich without the jelly. Alan, yeah. Better counteract the jelly with some peanut butter. Endorphin, this is amazing. You guys have never talked like this before. Is there something wrong with your AI friend? Why doesn't he talk like normal people? Endorphin. No, I
Endorphin.
don't believe he's broken. He usually communicates by text message. I guess he thought you'd get more use out of a spoken conversation because you'd be able to remember it longer and it would be easier to pick up the context of things that way. He also seems to have difficulty talking about abstract topics unless they're in an empathic manner. It seems to be part of his design. His goal is for machines to learn about the human condition from other humans to teach themselves through direct contact rather than reading about it in books or watching it in movies or learning about it via indirect observation, which is the best way robots can do so at present. Alan, I wish I knew why my voice changed then. I can't help but wonder what will happen next if we keep getting involved in stuff that happens around us. Will I ever find out what happened with all those explosions back there? What if we both end up dead? Do we become immortal if we die? Are we dead until someone comes and undead us? Am I still alive even though I'm not conscious? Maybe when I go to sleep, I'll be asleep forever, and maybe when I wake up tomorrow, I'll be awake forever. Edvin, it is best to not think about such things. Not if you want a paycheck, that is. Fine. Oh, quiet you. Maya wakes up. The sound of a phone ringing echoes off the walls. The first time she heard a telephone ring was the day her brother left the house on foot after making his decision. She'd been sitting alone in the kitchen waiting for him while listening to the faintly audible sounds coming from upstairs. And as soon as he reached the front door, he started taking off his shoes and walking away into the cold winter air. Maya. Miasma. Another bullshit night in Suck City. Melisma. What's wrong with you? He just got home. He's leaving again. Leave it. Maya. Cyano. He's always going somewhere else or doing something different or whatever, but this is one thing I really wanted for him. He had this whole life plan set out where I was supposed to follow behind, take care of business, and eventually marry some guy named Alan. Now we're kind of free to make our own lives. So why did my brother have to ruin it by actually acting like a human being instead of a robot? If he could have stuck to that schedule and didn't do anything too crazy, we would probably still be living the same life we were before the accident happened. Her thoughts are interrupted by the ringing noise growing louder in volume, and she stands up from the couch and walks over toward the table. Miasma, Maya, your cell phone. It must be Alan calling you back. She reaches down and picks up her phone, noticing the missed call icon. Melanome. When is pizza gonna be dinner tonight? Maya, don't ask me. Maybe you'll get lucky, and I'll die without eating another bite today. You never know when death will strike at any moment here. We might even die tomorrow because somebody forgot to check on us or something. Maybe then we won't need food anymore. Oh, wait, there goes the doorbell. Go get it yourself. The bell rings again as she walks to the door, opening it to see a man standing in the hallway holding a brown paper bag filled with several slices of pepperoni pizza in his hands. Maya. Hey, come in. Hey, can you please put those pizzas on the coffee table so they don't melt into a slushy right outside my front door? He smiles and begins putting the pizza slices down on top of the glass tabletop while he keeps an eye out for mice cat that always wanders around in this particular part of the apartment complex. Melanoma, can you put the peanut butter on the pizza for me? There's already a jar full of jelly over there on the counter that I want to try first. He continues speaking to her while searching through the refrigerator for some fresh milk. I just woke up from a nap after spending all day sitting on the couch waiting for you to call me. But I'm not feeling hungry. Maya. Wow, well, at least someone's been watching TV and stuff. Oh no, it looks like Miasma got bored too and she's now playing solitaire. Melanoma plots out a few sardines from the tin and plops them into his milk, smooshing them into the mix with tea back of his fork. My, alrighty then, what would you like to do tonight, Melanoma? Do you want to watch some television together or go to a restaurant? Melanoma. I think I'd rather stay here tonight if that's okay with you guys. Maya, you're not leaving anytime soon? Melanoma. Nope, probably not until you feel better and can walk on your own again. Maya, I'm fine really. I have people who walk for me, pick up things for me, take me away from my own personal hell when such things surface on nights like these. What about you? Why don't we let him keep you company for the night so he doesn't feel bad about missing out on this one? Melanoma. Hello. Yeah, that sounds good. And we'll get to know each other more as we grow closer. So, who is Alan anyway? He seems like a very interesting person. A slight smile comes across Maya's face. Miasma. Oh, I knew I liked you. It must be nice being friends with a girl named Melanoma. You must hang out in all kinds of cool places where you never have to deal with assholes and jerks. I bet your family treats you right. Melanoma. Not really. My parents are both dead, and there aren't any siblings or extended relatives nearby that could look after me either. My only living relative besides my grandmother lives far away, which is why I came here today because she usually cooks for me every Sunday morning before going back home. She was the one who found me at the dumpster last year, took pity on me, gave me her spare keys, fed me her leftover dinner, and eventually adopted me. He picks up the pepperoni slices on the table and puts them on a paper plate and starts eating while speaking. Her name's Stacy, and she's always telling me to come over to her place for meals and stuff. But I don't want to bother anyone just yet. Maybe in a few months I'll try it once I find myself an apartment to live in. Miasma, wait, did you say you were raised by your grandma? That sounds kind of sweet, actually. How old are you again? Melanoma, 19 years old. Miasma, well, that means you're already considered a young adult now. Congratulations. If that weren't enough to make you happy about having survived this long, how about knowing that this is probably the best age ever? Melanoma's face sank. My, to get into trouble and be labeled an asshole, that is. 19 is your whole life ahead of you. Much to learn, much to listen to. You've still got lots of growing to do before reaching adulthood, and I think you should use these next 4 or 5 years wisely because they can make all the difference in whether or not you end up with any regrets when all this is said and done. They will all go so fast and so slow at the same time as the seasons change in the blink of an eye. You might as well enjoy yourself right now since we may never see each other again. Melanoma. What do you mean by that? I thought this was a weekly sketch and cave etch. Is there something else going on tonight? Miasma slurps down a large spoonful of vanilla ice cream while watching TV. Maya, yeah, we have a few things to talk about. And some good news to tell you, too, which means I'm gonna need my hands free for a minute. Melanoma, please sit on my lap. There, are you comfortable like that? Okay, Miasma, let's give him the bad news first. Tell him what's been happening here. Miasma, well, the guys who used to live upstairs from us are moving out because their lease expired today and the new owners don't want them back. She pauses, thinking about how to put it nicely before continuing. They're all losers that no one wants around, so it's best if we don't encourage them to stay. Melanoma. So then, why are they leaving the place in the first place? Are you trying to make me feel sorry for them now, or something? Why would you care about somebody else's problems when I've had mine taken away by the hand of God Himself? This has happened in a week where I finally found someone worth spending my life with. Someone I could have loved until the day I die, and I didn't even know her name yet. My only wish was to see her smile again and hear her say my name once more and see how beautiful she looked up close. Miasma, don't worry about that. There's plenty of drowned fish in the sea. But still, we have another problem here. Maya, another one. We just talked about these idiots who are running away already. Miasma, the building next door is going through some renovations, so some of our neighbors have decided not to move into their own places right now because it'll be a little noisy, but not enough to bother us too much. But it sounds like their workmen won't get started for a few days after tomorrow at the earliest. It might be wise to take advantage of this time since all three of you might end up sleeping on the couch together for a while until you find your own place to live. I'm sure Maya's grandmother will lend you whatever furniture you need since she's a really nice lady. Melanoma. What do you mean by that? She's letting people sleep on her bed and eat her food? That doesn't sound very kind and generous to me. And what does that make me if I start staying over here without asking and using everything she has? He sighs and pauses as he thinks about what Miasma said. Maybe you're right. It seems like the perfect opportunity to find ourselves an apartment before any other weirdos come along and steal our place away from us. Yeah, but let's look for a new place today. If we can hurry up before those jerks finish painting the walls.
Oh, let's see.
What color will those be painted tonight? Find out next week along with other burning questions. Is Alan's sudden mouth neuropathy due to an allergy? Is someone in that Halloween dress getting thousands times the dose of formaldehyde? What other mess is Alan hiding? Is it because Alan is jealous of Edfin and I? Find out next week! This week's special guest was brought to you by The Whisper of Desires. What is a lover? Asks Melanoma, sitting on the couch with his eyes glued to the television. What are these feelings inside us? Why do they feel so confusing sometimes, but yet so powerful all at once at the same time? My phone rings, interrupting the scene. It's a familiar ringtone that plays whenever one of their friends calls them back again and again, while also being an all-around happy song. Maya. Hello? Alan? It's Maya. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, thank God. Hey there. Are you okay? Miasma puts her head down on Maya's lap. Melanoma. Who the heck is calling her? This better be worth it for this distraction. Maya. What do you mean, who am I speaking to? You're the one who called. Why did you call my cell phone? No, wait. Let me guess first. I know it has something to do with what happened yesterday after school. The only person who knows about our secret project just finished it. Well, not really a project anymore since we've already finished filming our skit. Melanoma. Oh no, she doesn't have to say anymore. Miasma. Melanoma. And stop looking at me like that. It's embarrassing. Miasma. Ooh, sorry, melanoma. She then picks up the remote and turns the TV off. Maya. So you finally got tired of waiting for your turn and decided to go through with it instead, didn't you? How'd you get on? Did you give him a nice roundhouse kick to the groin? Melanoma. I think he'll live if I'm honest, but he won't forget this anytime soon. Maya, don't worry too much about that. Alan is the kind of guy that would probably still be walking around today even without any broken bones or torn ligaments. Melanoma, aren't you being a little optimistic here? I was hoping that he might become disabled from his injuries, so maybe we can keep his condition as quiet and discreet as possible so nobody gets suspicious of anything weird going on between us now. It's hard enough trying to pretend like nothing's happening right in front of people's faces without adding to my problems by making them suspect that something strange has been going on behind their backs for weeks already. Maya, don't sweat the small stuff. Melanoma. Especially all the delicious, nutritious tuna mercury. Just sit back and relax. Eat whatever food Miasma brings you, watch whatever she tells you to, sleep whenever she needs you to, take a bath when she says it's time. Just don't bother anyone else until she feels like telling you otherwise. Do those things and everything will fall into place naturally. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about here because I've done it before. Miasma takes out an ice cream bar and hands it over to Maya. Melanoma keeps chewing on his tuna, little mirror driplets dribbling from his chin. Maya, Is there any other important information I should tell Alan? Anything important you want him to know? Melanoma. Yeah. We're currently sitting in a living room together with her grandmother while they wait for the workmen who are painting our building to finish up the job after tomorrow night. He bites off another piece of tuna and shoves the whole thing into his mouth, so yeah. Just that. Nothing else, really. Maya. Okay, let's roll the end credits then. Wait a second. Where do these two get all this free food? Who's feeding them anyway? We haven't seen Stacy since yesterday morning. If she wasn't working today, where is she? Oh God. Oh no! She was probably taken hostage or something during the renovations. The only person who could be helping them out right now is probably dead in a ditch somewhere. I have to go find out what happened to her now and help save her if I can. Melanoma. Pick up some more tuna on your way back. That stuff can last forever and still taste delicious even when it gets frozen and thawed several times. It doesn't melt down too much either, so you can eat it raw. Try it sometime. It's not bad at all. Melanoma sits upright again, wiping away the drool that trickled down the corners of his mouth as he spoke. Well, gotta run, but remember what I said about taking advantage of that new apartment opening next door before anybody else moves in, okay? Maya, I'll loop the floors up so you can get all risky business for your Zoomofins audience. Just try not to scratch the walls. Melanoma, gotta go now. Maya, bye bye, sweetie. Say hi to Alan for me. Maya puts the phone back in her pocket.
What just happened?
Melanoma. Yo, you having a stroke over there? Miasma. Oh, sorry. Did I scare you somehow? I'm just enjoying a nice peaceful nap on your lap right now. Melanoma. Oh, well, that's fine. That's cool. It just seemed like you were moving around suddenly or something. So is this an everyday thing then? You can fall asleep on people's laps anytime they sit down and let their guard down or something. Are you allowed to do stuff like that all the time? My asthma. I think only I'm allowed. I think you would get beaten severely if you do it. Melanoma. Why do I look like I need it? What could I possibly be needing some kind of strange supernatural powers for anyway? Don't answer the question if it makes you uncomfortable. That wasn't even my original question. How about we move past this subject for now? Just accept that I won't know anything about what goes on in your mind anymore. Okay. Melanoma looks away from miasma as he speaks. Now what about our new apartment? Maya. Okay, let's talk about race then. Melanoma. What are your thoughts on Black Beast White issues? Melanoma. I have absolutely no idea where this conversation is going to go, but Maya, tell me why black people hate white people so much, though. Melanoma. Wow. Obviously because of slavery, Jim Crow laws, discrimination, violence, lynching, redlining, segregation. Miasma. Maya. Why don't you sing the rest like the Billy Joel song? We didn't start the fire. Melanoma. I feel like that one was more suited to Alan's singing style. I guess I can give it a try since nobody else here has any better suggestions. If anybody wants a different song or whatever, they can just keep talking over me until I finish. Ready. He clears his throat and begins to belt out a melody with an unusual cadence. Maya and Maya's black people will forever hate whites. Melanoma. Maya. And then everybody else too. Melanoma. White. Miasma. Black people. Maya. Everybody. Miasma. Black people. Maya. That sounds good to me. It fits in perfectly with my song. Wait. Who's supposed to be doing that chorus again? Maya. What happened there? Is your mouth suddenly full of lead? Miasma. We need to get Paul Mooney to do the chorus. Melanoma. He's been dead 4 years ago. Maya. Nope. Never heard of him. Oh, now I remember. You're still working on the part where you pretend to forget every single word I said just because I told you to. You're not even paying attention anymore. How is this fair? How am I ever going to learn anything from you if you never pay attention no matter what anyone tells you? Don't look at me when I'm talking to you. Narrator. Sounds like another question to add to the list for next week. Tune in. This week's special guest was brought to you by the Rude Basket. You should probably leave that thing alone. Are we still trying to make up a new skit for our improv show tonight? My asthma. Yes. I thought maybe it could work if Melanoma were playing both sides of a conflict between two fictional characters. She gives an example. Maya. Okay, so I'll play one character and you play the other one, and I guess you can help me write some of the dialogue. Yeah, my asthma, now it's cool. Let's start brainstorming ideas. 5 hours later, a script emerged, fully formed, entitled The Jew, the Italian, and he red-haired gay. Miasma did not tell either of them she stole it from the show The State. It had nothing to do with any particular issue, but simply showed 3 random people fighting over their personal interests in ways that made no sense whatsoever. In fact, the entire episode ended with all the characters meeting in the same room to discuss how stupid they were while wearing their regular clothes. So, as soon as Maya got home from school, she grabbed her camera and ran out again to film the skit in real time. She spent 5 minutes running through various locations around town before settling on this abandoned house where she set up. Shaw. Maya walked into frame carrying an armful of props, including a bunch of sticks, a bookcase, and even a broken down couch which she sat on to act as the main character's bed. Narrator. Our next guest has appeared right here on our show a number of times. Her name is Maya Gentry. Maya, standing by herself outside. Hi there. How's everyone doing today? Her raider and her friend is Melanoma. Miasma stands by himself nearby. Maya and Melanoma standing together. Maya, oh hi guys. It looks like you're already working on something. I thought you might be starting to shoot the new skit we worked out for tonight, so I came to give you some last minute help. I'll just go get my things and she takes off and returns with an oversized afro wig and some sunglasses. Melanoma. Ooh, those are some big glasses. What did you think of that one? That's called a Wayfarers. You wear these if you want to look cool in a black nerd sort of way. But don't take it from me. Ask your grandmother what she thinks of them when she sees them in the mirror later. Maya. I think she'd get scared, like we killed someone. Save it for the holidays. Don't tell her about the eye holes either, or she might have another stroke. She puts on the hat, too. A raider. Now Maya Gentry is playing both sides of this conflict between two characters who happen to be Jew and Italian. She's wearing this oversized Redskins hat because Melanoma told her they were all the rage back in his day. He was obviously lying, though, since he wasn't even alive at all during any era known as his. Let's hope this isn't the only time he's telling fibs on the show. Miasma is also wearing a similar headgear as well, even though she's supposed to be on a completely different side. 5 hours later, the entire episode was finished, with Miasma writing most of the dialogue on the spot, except for when she needed Melanoma to supply lines such as, "Why can't you?" Yeah. Maya, that was actually pretty good. Do that again, but without the "you" in front of it so it sounds more natural. A reader. Sounds like another question to add to the list for next week. Tune in. This week's special guest was brought to you by The Rude Basket. You should probably leave that thing alone. Miasma. Melanoma. Melanoma. Narrator. Melanoma. Our resident know-it-all has a problem and wants your help solving it. What is he worried about? He won't say. He just gets nervous around people who he doesn't really know very well yet. Miasma. Oh, is he a biter or something? Does he have rabies or some kind of disease? Should we call 911 already?
Alright, we're done. That was weird. That was weird. I'm not gonna lie. I went off the rails. Went off the rails. Went off the rails. Mm.